Hey everyone, this is Adam from Longview Analytics, and today I'm going to provide some feedback to a gentleman named Samuel who I saw on X, created a dashboard and was asking for some feedback. So Sam, I hope this helps, and if anyone else is watching, I hope this helps you as well. And I'll flip over to the dashboard here. So this is out on Tableau Public, and I'll zoom in a second, but I also wanted to call out that Sam has also written an article around this dashboard, which it gave me some background on the purpose and the data set, so I appreciate that. It was helpful in evaluating this. So let me zoom in here and we'll get started. All right, that's better. So when I go to evaluate dashboards or provide feedback to my team members, before even diving into the dashboard and the functionality, I want to understand the purpose, who the audience is, what they're planning to use it for, because that's the lens that I can judge, or anyone can judge a dashboard through. It may be the best dashboard in the world visually, but if it doesn't meet the purpose, then there's no real use for it. I read a little bit of Samuel's article, and the purpose of this one generally sounds like it's for sales managers to track their team's quarterly sales performance and to make data-driven and informed decisions. I'm assuming those are managerial decisions or maybe performance feedback to the team, but that's generally the purpose. The other part of a purpose is dashboards, in my mind, fit into two categories. One is a one-time use dashboard, so some interesting visuals that you'll look at and then never look at again. So think of like articles that you see where they show some kind of interesting visual, versus a business type dashboard where a manager or an individual will come in and use it regularly to perform their job function. And that's what this one seems like. I also, before diving into any specific visual, look at the layout. So generally people view things from top left to bottom right, meaning that the most important real estate on a dashboard is this top left area, and then it slowly moves across and down. So you want to make sure that the most important things are at the top. Looks like you've got some big numbers here, which help in giving context for the population of data that we're working with, which is a great thing to do. And you've got it at the top, so that helps set the tone. As I'm looking at this, the first thing I see is this 10 million. That's the close value, and I can work my way over. It looks like we're working with 85 accounts here in this overall population, so that's really helpful. The other thing I look at is colors. One thing I'll point out with these top numbers is red generally means bad in people's mind, or there's some kind of problem or fear. And so the fact that these are red, I don't know if 10 million is good or 10 million is bad, but because it's red, it makes me feel like it's bad in some way. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe there's some kind of threshold it's not meeting. But if 10 million is not bad in this case, then maybe make those a neutral color. The other thing I notice here immediately is it looks like we've got some tabs, so these will probably change some of the visuals, and then a header to give us a name for the dashboard, and then some filtering. I think this is good placement of the filters. You really want them together. Sometimes people place filters throughout a dashboard, and that can be confusing, knowing what the filter actually filters, versus these, I'm going to assume where they're placed filters everything on the screen, and we can test that out. Yeah, it looks like it filters everything, which is the right thing to do. All right, so let's start clicking around. So it looks like the visuals filter other visuals, which is good. That can help drill in and try to understand things further. It does look like there's some cross filtering. So I clicked this and that filtered this down. Okay. One thing that is sort of confusing here is this is 341, so I filter this 341,000. This is 12,000. Okay, so that's revenue. That's this revenue number, whereas this is total close value. So that's this number up here. Okay, that makes sense. Another thing that's a little confusing is if this is the total close value, I'm not sure how this is going to add up to 10 million although it says it's the top 5 accounts, so maybe, yeah, maybe across the 85 accounts, these total up to 10 million. I'm going to assume that's the case, but you want to make sure that that's clear, whether you have some kind of total number or something, so that it's easier to tick and tie that together. But take that with a grain of salt, because if this is a dashboard that's going to be used over and over and over again, the users will get used to that, and once they figure it out one time, they'll, won't have to think about it again. On colors on here, I would say, if it was me, I would use different colors. So you generally want one color to mean one thing across the dashboard. So for example, this con code account, if this is the green, then you would only want that green showing up where con code is showing up somewhere else, versus right now this green means this account, but it also means finance, and it also means GTX Pro. So that can be a little confusing. Again, don't have to do it, but it's personal preference, and a lot of times it can help a person understand where the data is similar and where it's different. All right, so I'm going to click on some of the other visuals here. Okay, so this is interesting. Looks like we've got quarterly close value, monthly close value. So that's Q4, Q3, Q2, and Q1. Okay, so that 1.1 and that 1.1 line up. Okay, so this is just a little bit more broken out version of this. And then we've got sales agent and manager performance. I'm gonna assume that the sales agents roll up to the managers. So, okay, so that looked like it was Summer twice. So, yeah. Okay, so if I select a manager, then I'm guessing Carrie and Cami report to Summer. Let's see. So that 1.9 million, you would think that would make up, these numbers would add up to that, but it looks like even this 238 isn't the entire bar. It's just that portion of the bar. As you can probably tell, my mind tries to tick and tie the different visuals. So like this is the 1.9 million, but then this quarter is 0.5. Okay, so I'm wondering if this total is the total of the 4 quarters. So this may be a yearly number, in which case you'd want to put that in the header here so people know that this is the yearly total versus this is a quarterly breakout. The other thing I'd do is I'd probably switch manager to the left, because we read left to right, and so manager first, then individual, so that it makes more sense that you'd filter a manager, then see the team members. I'd also probably flip both of these visuals to the top and bring these line charts down, so that it's manager, and then in that case, if they were flipped that way, you would click Summer, which would then, if Summer was up here, then this one would be over here, and then you'd have the breakout of the individual quarters and months. That would make more sense in my mind. Okay, let's flip to the next one. All right, so 1%, engaging, prospecting. That makes sense. So we've got the managers again and the sales agents again, and then a breakout of deal stage, office location sector, regional office. A little smashed here, but interesting. So the sectors are broken out. I remember that from the account and product. So we had the finance sector. Okay, so that's interesting. So that breaks out the results. I would again probably switch the order of these, starting with the highest level in the top left, which seems like this sector, then probably going to manager and sales agent, or maybe I would do this one to the top left, maybe the deal stage to the right, and then that way manager could stay where it is and sales agent could come down here, so that it would be more of a natural flow from least granular to most granular. Yeah. Okay, oh, I just noticed, so it looks like what I said earlier about colors, maybe you're doing it here, where this dark green means 1 And so does that mean 1 across all of these? It looks like it does. Okay, that's really cool. So I like the way you're doing this. It'd be nice if you did this kind of pattern on the other ones, where you click the 1, or you click whatever that color is, and then the rest of it flows through. What that does for me is I don't have to click and filter. I can just look, and across this I can see everything without touching it. That's dark green means 1, which is really helpful for my brain to understand where those fall. So without filtering, I can see which sectors 1 is higher. There's more 1s in these sectors. Looks like employment sector isn't doing so hot. Very cool. Okay, I like that. All right, so I'll flip back and sum this up a little bit. Layout wise, I like it. I think it's good that it doesn't scroll. I can't remember if I mentioned this, but sometimes people make dashboards where you have to scroll up and down like that to get to all the visuals, and that's a pet peeve of mine. It can be used in some cases, like for storytelling or for an article type setup, but for a day-to-day use dashboard like this one is, you want it to be a fixed size so the user doesn't have to scroll up and down. So good job there. I also like the layout. Generally, it's the most important stuff first, and going down to more granular at the bottom right. The filters are in a good location to apply to everything versus being interspersed, and the tabs seem to work well. I tend to like the built-in Tableau tabs versus this linking, but everybody has their preference. From a validation test perspective that I think through at the end of evaluating a dashboard is, 1, does this dashboard meet the stated purpose? And I think this one does. It gives us insight into the quarterly sales performance. The data-driven informed decision, I'm not 100% sure on. I think if we had some more detail, so for example, if we go to sales performance and looking at Melvin here, so if there was a vertical line showing the previous quarter, I think that would give me more insight into how he was doing last year versus this year, or last quarter versus this quarter, although I do see that there's a breakout. Same with the individuals. If you were trying to make a decision on performance feedback, you'd want a little more context of, maybe for, Vicky's not making as many sales as Darcel, but maybe Vicky has doubled her sales from last year, and maybe Darcel has only done half as much as he did last year. And so those are completely different feedback conversations than just looking at these total numbers. But generally, following the purpose, which is awesome. Another thing that I think would help here is drilling down to the row by row data. And I know if you click on something in Tableau, you can then click, if I can get to it, you can then click here to get to the details, but that's not as pretty, and the fields are out of order, and you sort of have to know what you're doing to get there. Whereas if it was built into the dashboard, that helps with people trusting the dashboard, because they could click on their name and say, well, that's not right if they look bad on the dashboard. But when they can drill into the row by row information and they see, oh wow, that is me, then they begin to trust the dashboard more. Another thing that would help is maybe not in this case, it's case by case basis, but external links. So if there is a CRM application that's feeding this, having links that can then take people into the application. So for example, if you drill down to an individual account, then being able to click on a link that takes me to the Concode page in the CRM if I wanted to do more work, or if, for example, I see that something's wrong on this dashboard, I'm like, oh, that deal went through, I should change it. Being able to then click into the CRM and update it pretty quickly. That it's just a nice to have for users in their workflow. So got a little off topic on the validation test. So the first one, does this meet the purpose? Yes, it does. The second validation test is, does a user need instructions to use this dashboard? I think the right answer is no. You don't want them to have instructions, and so this dashboard does not need instructions, which is great. Does the user need instructions to understand the population of data? I don't think so, which is good. they've got the big numbers at the top, which is awesome. Gives me an idea of like the total accounts, for example, or the total deals. Okay, I know what context, what total population I'm dealing with here, which is great. And then the final one is, does the dashboard answer the user's initial questions and then help develop new questions? I think it does, which is also really good. So I can get some insight into the accounts and the total sales and the managers and the sales associates, but then I might have the next question of, like mentioned earlier, well, what is this compared to the previous year? Or what is this compared to the previous 2 or 3 years? And how are things changing and what are the trends? And so that conversation between dashboard developer and business user is what you want. And this dashboard is doing that. So great job there. Overall, I think the looks of this are really good. It has a good flow. I would implement some of the feedback I've had throughout this on the colors. And then from a layout perspective, it's really good. It's following best practices. I think there is some space savings you could do in getting rid of some of this background, maybe making this header smaller, maybe using the Tableau built-in tabs versus these. But those are nitpicks and personal preference. And then passed all the validation tests, which is awesome. And so I think this is a strong dashboard, and with some tweaks and some enhancements, it could be even better. So great job on this. Overall, hope this helps. Probably way more than you asked for, Samuel, but really hope it helps you. Have a great day.